We've been hearing for years about the city of LA's financial problems and its serious consequences. So why, in the midst of huge deficits, cuts and layoffs, would the city spend more than $7 million on a children's museum that has yet to open its doors? KCAL9 political reporter Dave Bryant is live with details and why some are especially angry about where that money's coming from. Dave.
Sylvia, it is a cold and blustery night here. We're outside the DWP headquarters in downtown LA, where the chill here sort of matches the mood of some utility ratepayers and their advocates when they found out the city council approved millions of dollars moving it from the DWP to a children's museum, which still hasn't opened more than a decade after the planning began. All right. 12 years in the making, the new Children's Museum in Lakeview Terrace at the Hanson Dam property is still a work in progress. A beautiful new building fenced off and locked up, still 2 years or more from opening. A silent monument, some say, to mismanagement, bankruptcy, and underfunding. So when the LA City Council approved with only 2 dissenting votes the transfer of $7.5 million from the Department of Water and Power and the Sanitation Department to rescue the museum again, Councilman Richard Alarcon hailed it as turning failure to success.
There's no question. We took a bankruptcy and we're turning it into a rich wealth of education for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
But Alarcon's rosy view isn't shared by everyone.
It would be great to have a good kids museum, but it's got to be done right, and it can't be done with the rate, it shouldn't be done with the ratepayers' money.
Community activist Jack Humphreyville writes the LA Watchdog column for City Watch. He says it's outrageous for DWP customers and LA sanitation customers to be financing a museum when they pay their utility and trash collection bills.
It's not the responsibility of the Department of Water and Power and its ratepayers, or the Bureau of Sanitation and its ratepayers to foot the bill. DWP rates are going to double in the next 10 years. The sewer rates are going up 77%. To tag the ratepayers with all this additional burden is just not fair.
City Councilman Dennis Zine was one of the 2 council members who voted against the plan.
When you're concerned about the dollars and concerned about the water and power rates and the sanitation, the sewer and sanitation charge and the collection of refuge, etc., that's not what those dollars are there for. They're not there to loan for a museum or for something else. They're there to provide the service and keep the rates low.
But Councilman Alarcon says LA taxpayers would have been on the hook for a lot more money if the council had sat back and allowed the project to go belly up again.
We didn't really have a choice. If we did not do something with it that was akin to a children's museum, then we would forego bonds that have been provided and other funds. We would have to pay them back, and to the tune of $18 million. So the fact that we've been able to cobble together a variety of sources is actually saving the city from having to pay that debt without any benefit whatsoever.
And with the LA budget deficit in the hundreds of millions of dollars and no other sources of money, supporters of the Children's Museum say they had no other alternatives, an argument the critics reject out of hand.
We are not their ATM. We are not a slush fund. This is not the responsibility of the ratepayers. We're already paying enough, if you will. Just because it's owned by the city doesn't mean they have the right to pilfer it. I mean, they're looting this place.
Even Alarcon says he understands it's a terrible situation for the taxpayers and the ratepayers, but the 12-year-old project, he says, hit the skids long before he got involved in trying to fix the mess.
It just seems to some people, again, some critics, that that the museum and the people running it have never been able to do the fundraising and to sustain it without substantial city money.
Absolutely. I felt it was a white elephant when I voted against providing additional money back when it was the Children's Museum. But the Children's Museum went bankrupt. That organization no longer exists, and the city of Los Angeles inherited this mess.
But Councilman Zine believes the museum has already become a money pit. He says it has sucked up more than $37 million from all sources after 12 years and may have become a pit without a bottom.
When you have a project that starts in the year 2000 with $10 million public-private, and 9 years later it fails and it goes bankrupt, and then we keep pouring more money into this to see, is this going to work, is it not going to work? It reminds me of a bad project that goes bad and it keeps going bad and you keep trying to save it.
Well, adding insult to injury, critics charge the council rammed this thing through in record time without proper oversight. But there may not be much they can do at this point. It has already been approved by the city council. In downtown LA, Dave Bryan, KCAL9 News.